A mother pulls into a gas station at dawn. Security cameras capture her stepping out of a white car, walking calmly to the pump, seemingly talking on her phone. She fills the tank, walks back toward the driver's side, pauses to glance through the rear window, then gets back in. Nothing about this scene appears unusual. Except for one terrifying detail. Inside that vehicle, 4 children are fighting for their lives. 2 are already dead from gunshot wounds. When police arrive minutes later, they find a nightmare that will haunt this Texas community forever. A 13-year-old boy slumped in the front seat. A 3-year-old girl's body covered with a white sheet on the ground. 2 more children in the back seat, critically wounded, clinging to life. And the woman who called 911? She's the one who allegedly pulled the trigger. Their own mother. But this story gets stranger. When investigators search her home 60 miles away, they discover something completely unexpected. A massive identity fraud operation. Thousands of fake IDs, social security cards, counterfeit checks, all bearing different names but her photograph. Stacks of cash. Evidence of a double life nobody saw coming. What could drive a mother to allegedly shoot her own children? What was really happening inside that house? And how did investigators piece together the shocking truth? Stay with me because the details of this case will leave you speechless.
Welcome to the Case File. Here, every crime has a story, every mystery leaves a trail, and every detail could be the difference between truth and deception. From assassinations that shook the nation, to manhunts that gripped entire cities, we uncover the raw, unfiltered events behind the headlines. These are not just stories. They are lives, choices, and consequences. The files are open, the cases are real, and the truth is waiting to be found. This is the Case File. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next case might be the one that changes everything.
October 4th, a Saturday morning just before 5 a.m. dispatch receives a call from an Oasis convenience store in Angleton, Texas. The voice on the other end belongs to 31-year-old Oninda Romulus. What she tells the operator makes their blood freeze. According to the criminal complaint filed later, dispatch learns that a woman has shot her 4 children. She's currently at the gas station. She's waiting for police. When deputies arrive at the scene, they find a white car parked at a gas pump with the engine still running. The first thing they notice sends chills down their spines. A white sheet covers a small child's body lying on the ground behind the vehicle. Another white sheet covers a second body positioned between the car and the gas pump, the victim's legs still inside the vehicle, upper body hanging out of the passenger door onto the pavement. The store owner arrives and immediately grants permission to review surveillance footage. What investigators see on that video raises even more questions. They watch Romulus exit the white car, walk to the gas pump while appearing to talk on her phone, possibly already speaking with 911. After pumping gas, she walks back toward the driver's side, stops briefly to look through the rear window, then climbs back into the driver's seat. Why would someone who just allegedly shot 4 children stop to pump gas? Why the pause to look in the back window? What was going through her mind in those moments? When the first deputies on scene try to approach Romulus, she starts backing away from them. That's when they detain her. And that's when they discover the full horror of what happened inside that car. A male victim is slumped over in the front passenger seat. 13-year-old Icario. Deputies immediately try to render aid, but it's too late. He's gone, killed by gunshot wounds. Then they look into the back seat. 3 more children, all suffering from gunshot wounds. Despite every effort to save her, 3-year-old Amora is pronounced dead at the scene. The 2 other children, ages 8 and 9, are rushed by helicopter to the nearest hospital. Their condition is critical. Court documents reveal that multiple guns were found with Romulus, though it's unclear if they were on her person or inside the vehicle. Deputies had already read her Miranda rights. When an investigator tries to talk with her to understand what happened, something becomes immediately clear. She's not making sense. She's taken to jail. Once at the sheriff's office, Romulus is escorted to an interview room. The investigator notes her behavior carefully. She appears extremely paranoid. She refuses to sit down. She keeps looking out the door of the interview room, as if expecting something or someone to appear. After considerable effort, the investigator finally builds enough connection with her to ask questions. What comes next is chilling. "Why did you call 911? The investigator asks. Her response, "I can't talk about it." The investigator presses further, asking again and again why she made that call. Finally, Romulus answers, "Instead of them doing it to me, I'm going to do it to them." "Do what?" the investigator asks. "Kill them all," she responds. At another point during questioning, when asked about calling 911, Romulus says something that stops everyone in their tracks. She didn't call 911. She called the devil. The investigator asks her to clarify what she means by "they're dead." Her response is bone-chilling, "Because you can't take me without me taking you." Then she adds something that reveals her mindset: "My children were dead to me." Authorities immediately charge her with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Her bond is set at $14 million. But this is just the beginning. When investigators look into where Romulus actually lives, they discover her home is in Porter, Texas, in Montgomery County, more than 60 miles away from where she was arrested. And what they find inside that house will add an entirely new dimension to this already disturbing case. Search warrants filed by Montgomery County investigators provide shocking insight into who Oninda Romulus really was. Her social media presence alone raises eyebrows. While most mothers fill their Instagram pages with photos of their children's milestones, birthday parties, special moments, Romulus' page tells a different story. There are almost no posts featuring her children. Instead, her feed showcases what appears to be a party lifestyle. Photos of luxury purses, designer sunglasses, stacks of cash spread across tables. One post from a spring break trip to Cancun earlier this year shows a cocktail with the caption, "I had to soon as I got off the flight 'cause these kids ain't worth a damn." Another video from that same trip shows Romulus walking a group of children toward a pool area. The caption reads, "Much needed. If F them kids was a person. Y'all got to go. See y'all later." In the video she's heard saying, "I'm going to have a great time. But y'all going to get in the pool. You're going to have a good time." One of the last videos posted before the tragedy has a caption that now reads differently in hindsight, "Mama got to have a life too." But social media posts are nothing compared to what investigators find when they execute search warrants on her home. The warrants request access to all electronics capable of storing data. DVR systems, cell phones, tablets, computers, SIM cards, hard drives, any equipment that can print, copy, scan, or produce paper items, and anything containing identifying information. Why would murder investigators need warrants for equipment related to document fraud? Deputies were also concerned about another person potentially in danger. When units first arrived at the Spear Valley Lane residence, Romulus' oldest child, a 17-year-old, was unaccounted for. This teenager was not in the vehicle with the other 4 victims. Were they inside the house? Were they safe? Deputies breached the door. They searched the entire residence. No one is found inside. The only living creature discovered is a dog that had been abandoned, now taken into care by animal control. But what investigators do find inside that house changes everything they thought they knew about this case. During the initial search of Romulus' home, investigators discover evidence of what they describe as a large-scale identity fraud scheme. The scene inside the house is staggering. A massive quantity of Social Security cards. Identification documents containing personal information of numerous individuals. U.S. Treasury checks addressed to this location with different names on each check. Counterfeit identification documents in various stages of production, bearing different names, different states, different photographs. Here's what makes it even more damning. Some identification cards have photographs of Oninda Romulus herself but with completely different names attached. These items are located in an office inside the home. That same office contains multiple shipping labels, phones, computers, laptops, printers, and other devices clearly used in the operation. The full inventory of what investigators gather is shocking. 31 Social Security cards, 33 ID cards, 15 credit cards, 15 packages of blank checks. This is an amateur hour. This is a sophisticated, organized fraud operation running right out of her home. Investigators also note a Tesla with Georgia license plates parked in the driveway. Background records show Romulus previously lived in Georgia. Surveillance camera footage from across the street captures something crucial. Multiple people leaving the home just after 2:30 a.m. on October 4th, the same day as the shooting. Some of the subjects appear small in stature, consistent with children. They get into a car next to the Tesla and drive away. Investigators request access to the Tesla's camera system and storage, knowing the vehicle essentially functions as a mobile surveillance device that could have recorded everyone who came and went from the property. But here's where the timeline gets murky. If people left the house at 2:30 a.m., and the 911 call came in just before 5 a.m., what happened during those 2.5 hours? Where did they go? At what point did the shooting occur? Authorities state they believe the shooting took place inside the car, but they're unclear about where the vehicle was located when it happened. Was it at the house? Somewhere along the 60-mile journey to Angleton? At the gas station itself? As investigators dig deeper into Romulus' history, more pieces of the puzzle emerge, though they don't necessarily fit together cleanly. In 2013, Romulus appeared on an episode of a television show called Paternity Court. The question being decided: who was the father of her 18-month-old child at that time? While it's unclear if that child was one of the victims in this case, the ages would line up for it to be 13-year-old Icario. Records from Georgia reveal another incident. In 2022, the Fayette County Sheriff's Office arrested Romulus on charges of misdemeanor DUI involving drugs, failure to maintain lane, and possession of less than 1 ounce of marijuana. She eventually entered a guilty plea to the DUI charge. Prosecutors dropped the other 2 charges. Does any of this prior history connect to what happened in that car? Does it explain the alleged fraud operation? Does it provide any insight into her state of mind? One detail investigators repeatedly note in their reports is concerning: Romulus wasn't making sense. She appeared paranoid. She exhibited behavior that suggested something was seriously wrong mentally. Was she under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time of the shooting? Standard protocol would typically involve blood tests to check for substances, especially given her prior DUI conviction and her clearly altered behavior. If tests weren't conducted, that could become a major issue in court. Defense attorneys could argue that the failure to test creates reasonable doubt about her mental state, her intent, her ability to understand her actions. The question everyone keeps asking: what kind of mental state must someone be in to allegedly shoot their own children, then calmly drive to a gas station and pump fuel while 2 of them lay dying in the back seat? Oninda Romulus now faces 2 murder charges and 2 aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charges. With a $14 million bond, she's not going anywhere. The 2 surviving children, the 8-year-old and 9-year-old, are expected to recover physically from their wounds. But the emotional and psychological trauma will last forever. Child Protective Services has taken custody while they recover in the hospital. Their future remains uncertain. A spokesperson for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services reveals something else. Romulus had previous contact with CPS on 1 other occasion. The details of that interaction remain confidential for now, but will eventually be included in a public child fatality report once the investigation concludes. 4 defense attorneys taking on this case, the challenges are enormous. The evidence appears overwhelming. The alleged confession during interrogation is damning. The physical evidence from the scene, the surveillance footage, the surviving witnesses who are her own children, all of it points in one direction. But several potential defense strategies exist. First, was she competent at the time of the shooting? Her statements about the devil and her paranoid behavior suggest possible mental illness or psychotic break. Texas does allow an insanity defense, though it's extremely difficult to win and doesn't mean freedom. It typically results in psychiatric detention until sanity is restored, followed by continued punishment. Second, were proper protocols followed? Were blood tests conducted to check for drugs, alcohol, or toxins that might have affected her behavior? If not, that's ammunition for reasonable doubt. Third, the fraud case now running parallel to the murder charges adds complexity. These are completely different types of crimes typically committed by different types of criminals. How do they connect? Was financial pressure somehow a motive? Was she trying to eliminate witnesses? Or are they entirely separate issues that just happen to involve the same person? What about the mysterious 17-year-old who wasn't with the other children? Where were they during all of this? What do they know? Will they become a witness? The evidence from the Tesla could prove crucial. If it captured footage of what happened before the family left the house at 2:30 a.m., it might shed light on Romulus' behavior, her interactions with the children, or anything else relevant to her state of mind. And then there are the 2 children who survived. Eventually, they may have to testify about what happened inside that car. They may have to relive the worst moment of their lives in front of a courtroom full of strangers. The trauma of that alone is unimaginable. The Oninda Romulus case stands as one of the most heartbreaking tragedies to strike Texas in recent memory. A mother accused of shooting her 4 children, killing 2 of them, while operating a massive identity fraud scheme from her home. 2 separate criminal worlds colliding in the most devastating way imaginable. 13-year-old Icario and 3-year-old Amora will never celebrate another birthday, never graduate, never experience the joy of growing up. Their lives were cut short in the most unthinkable way, allegedly at the hands of the person who should have protected them above all else. The 2 surviving children, an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, face a long road ahead. Physical wounds will heal with time, but the emotional and psychological scars will remain forever. They'll carry the memory of that morning for the rest of their lives. They'll grow up knowing their siblings are gone. They'll struggle to understand why. And somehow they'll have to find a way to rebuild their lives from the ruins. As author Toni Morrison once said about survival, sometimes we don't survive in whole. We only survive in part. That truth echoes painfully in this case. These children may physically survive, but the parts of them that are lost, the innocence, the sense of safety, the ability to trust completely, those can never be fully restored. The fraud investigation adds another layer of complexity to an already incomprehensible tragedy. 31 social security cards. 33 fake IDs. 15 credit cards. 15 packages of blank checks. A sophisticated criminal operation running parallel to family life. Was financial pressure the breaking point? Was she trying to eliminate witnesses? Or were these two completely separate sides of a fractured existence? The 17-year-old who wasn't in that car that morning now faces a different kind of burden. Survivor's guilt. Questions about why they were spared. The weight of knowing their younger siblings weren't as fortunate. Their entire family structure has been destroyed in a single moment. First responders who arrived at that gas station will carry their own trauma. The image of those white sheets covering small bodies. The desperate attempt to save the children still clinging to life. The surreal experience of trying to communicate with a mother who spoke of the devil and said her children were dead to her. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about mental health, about the warning signs we might miss, about the hidden lives people lead behind closed doors. How many people saw Romulus' Instagram post showing luxury items and party lifestyle without knowing about the alleged fraud scheme funding it? How many people interacted with her without recognizing signs of someone potentially in crisis? The legal battle ahead will be long and complicated. Murder charges. Assault charges. Fraud charges. Questions about mental competency. Debates over insanity defense. Arguments about whether proper protocols were followed during investigation and interrogation. Potential testimony from traumatized children who witnessed their siblings being shot. But no verdict, no sentence, no legal outcome will ever truly address the magnitude of what was lost that October morning. 2 children who will never grow up. 2 children who will grow up without their siblings, without their mother, without the childhood they deserved. A family completely shattered. A community left searching for answers that may never come. The surveillance footage from that gas station tells a story that defies comprehension. A woman calmly pumping fuel while children lay dying just feet away. That image will haunt everyone who has seen it, everyone who has tried to make sense of the senseless. As this case moves through the court system, more details will emerge. The Tesla footage may reveal what happened in those hours between leaving the house at 2:30 a.m. and arriving at the gas station just before 5 a.m. Blood test results may provide insight into Romulus' mental and physical state. The 17-year-old may provide testimony that fills in missing pieces of the puzzle. But even with all the evidence gathered, all the testimony heard, all the verdicts delivered, one question will remain forever unanswered. How does a mother reach a point where she allegedly shoots her own children? That question will echo in courtrooms, in therapy sessions, in the minds of those 2 surviving children, and in the hearts of everyone touched by this tragedy. The case of Oninda Romulus is more than a crime story. It's a stark reminder that we can never truly know what's happening inside someone else's life, inside their mind, inside their home. It's a call to pay attention to warning signs, to check on people who seem to be struggling, to create systems that protect the most vulnerable among us, our children. Acario and Amora deserved better. The 2 surviving children deserve a chance to heal and rebuild. And every child deserves to grow up knowing that the adults in their lives will keep them safe, not harm them. This tragedy cannot be undone. The lives lost cannot be restored. But perhaps by examining what happened, by understanding the failures that allowed it to occur, by demanding better protections and better mental health resources, we can work toward preventing the next family from being destroyed in this way. Justice may be served in a Texas courtroom. Oninda Romulus may spend the rest of her life behind bars. But the true cost of what happened that morning will be paid by 2 children who must somehow find a way to survive with only parts of themselves intact. Their journey forward will be long. Their healing will be incomplete. But they deserve every chance to build new lives from the wreckage of the old ones. They deserve to know that what happened wasn't their fault, that they are valued, that they are loved, and that somewhere, somehow, there is still hope for a future worth living. This is the story of Oninda Romulus. A case that began with a chilling 911 call, unfolded into a double homicide investigation, revealed a secret criminal enterprise, and left a community forever changed. The legal proceedings will continue for months, perhaps years. But the impact of October 4, 2024 will last a lifetime. If this case moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you how fragile life can be and how important it is to protect those who cannot protect themselves, then help us continue bringing you these important stories. Hit the like button on this video to help more people see it and understand what happened to these children. Share this video with others who follow true crime or who need to be reminded that vigilance matters, that checking on people matters, that speaking up when something seems wrong matters. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update when new information breaks in this case or when we cover other cases that demand attention and answers. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think should happen next in this case? What questions do you still have? What resources should be available to prevent tragedies like this? Your engagement helps us continue investigating, reporting, and shining light on cases that need to be seen and understood. Every like, every share, every subscription tells us that these stories matter to you, and that motivates us to keep digging deeper, working harder, and bringing you the truth.